Greetings, Chargers. This is Chris Katz, Superintendent of Union City Community Schools, coming to you with a new version of our podcast, Charger Podcast number 5. In this edition, I want to start out by congratulating our wrestling team on an excellent season. The quarterfinals were held on Friday. We had a large contingent of Charger fans present. The Chargers fought hard and went down to a very good team from Martin. But they should be very proud of the season they had. Making it to the quarterfinals is an outstanding achievement. We have 8 Chargers still wrestling, moving on to the individual finals this coming weekend. We've also got boys basketball districts starting on Monday in Quincy. So this is a great time to be a Charger. In this podcast, I want to talk to you about our facility steering committee again. That's a topic that is very much on my mind and has important information that I need to share with the community. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing these podcasts this year, as the steering committee is looking at our facilities, looking over the information gathered by our construction management company, Chrisman, and an architect, C2AE, those two companies that did the facility study for us, that looked at the problems we had. And what they're trying to do is help us put together a plan that will help our district be able to have good facilities, buildings that will last another 30 years at least. And we've been working very hard on that. And if you go to our website, the school website, you will notice under the About menu item, there is an item for the Facility Steering Committee, and in there you will find a folder for each of the meetings that we've had and all the handouts and information that's been shared with that committee. All the information we've gathered and reviewed is located in there, so anyone in the community can be up to date on what's going on there. I also want to mention some upcoming events for you to be aware of. First of all, tomorrow we're going to be sending out a survey to have community members respond to regarding our facilities. That survey will go out to parents through our alert system. We'll send out a notice that it's available. We will have links posted on Facebook and on our website. We encourage all members of the community, especially taxpayers in the community, to take that survey. On this Thursday, February 27th, we're having a community forum, 6:30 p.m. in the High School Media Center. This is an opportunity for community members to come in to look at what the Facility Steering Committee has been seeing, to get some information about what issues we think need to be addressed and how we plan to address them going forward, and ask questions. It's going to be a long period of time in which people can ask questions, and we'll try to have the answers for you. If I don't have the answers, we'll find out what they are. But you can also offer opinions and ideas that you might have to help us to solve these issues, to help us have good facilities for our children for the years to come. Then next week, on Tuesday, February 4th, the steering committee will have another meeting in which they will take all the information we get from the survey, from the feedback at the community forum, as well as information, the most latest ideas for plans from our architect and our construction management firm, and we'll hopefully develop a plan that we can present to the school board at their workshop on March 10th. So we're going February 27th for the community forum, March 4th for the facility steering committee, March 10th for a school board workshop. The board will be there and discuss that. That's a public meeting. Anyone can come and attend that. And then March 17th is when the board will make a determination on how to proceed and whether to proceed with a plan to improve our facilities. So all of those are opportunities for the community to have input and feedback. What I'm going to do now, I've got recorded for you a presentation of some of the slides that the steering committee saw at their last meeting, where we talked about We reviewed the options that the committee had considered. We talked about what the problems were with our existing middle school and why the committee has agreed. At this point, there's been a consensus. Everyone's in agreement that the middle school building is not going to be usable for the next 30 years, and it would be too expensive to do the necessary repair work to make it so. And then some ideas on how we're going to proceed from there. These are all things that were presented at the last facility steering committee meeting, and you can see the details of those in the presentations again in those folders on our website. So here is the presentation that we had at the last facility steering committee. Thank you. This presentation is part of what the presentation was to the facility steering committee at our last meeting. So I wanted to go through and just share some of the things that I shared with them and things that they discussed. The presentation was the result of their previous input and communication with myself and also with Chrisman, which is our construction management company we're working with, as well as our architect, C2AE. So the first thing I want to start out with is a slide which shows some of the costs involved for renovating our existing middle school. And I wanted to show you this because our committee has basically decided that it would not be a wise decision to invest additional dollars into the middle school. Middle school was constructed back in the early 1970s, and at the time they did not have sufficient financial resources to build it out of block. So it was built with some different exterior materials that our construction manager refers to as light commercial construction. So there are a number of problems with the exterior of the building, and they believe that in order to make the building last for a length of time, that we hope to make these repairs last, would require a significant investment. And so this slide shows some of those things that they believe that we would need to do to that building. Now, our committee removed several of these as feeling that they were not necessary. And we got it down to probably roughly $17–18 million in terms of renovations that would need to take place, which is very costly. It's a lot of money to put into that building for the length of time that it would allow us to continue using it. There are problems, as I said, with the exterior walls, problems with some of the interior walls. It'd be difficult to make that building safe and secure. It has external doors on almost all the classrooms. There are very few windows in the building, however. So one of the things in the past that used to be done was the doors used to be propped open when it was warm, but that is no longer wise. And so we'd want to add some additional windows and remove the doors. There's money in here to add air conditioning to that building, investment to fix the roof of the building to make it last a long time, add some ventilation to the building. Just a large cost involved for repairing the middle school, which is why the committee pretty early on eliminated that as an option for what we wanted to do. So the next slide shows another option that was presented to us, which was to build a brand new school for all of our K-12 students. As you can see, the cost of this, over $72 million, is much too high for us to consider. The bond required, the millage rate required would be higher than anything we realistically could believe that community members could afford, nor did we think we could pass it. So we did look at that option, but eliminated it fairly early, as well as an option to construct a new 612 building. We had looked at the location behind the current middle school, and create a building that would be 612 there, moving 5th grade down to the elementary school and doing some renovations there. You can see the costs there were even more than the cost for a new K-12 building. I think that's because some of the renovations they planned in the elementary, I don't believe were actually necessary. Some of the additions would not be necessary as we examined it. We eliminated from this plan some of those things we didn't think we would need to do as part of the renovations, but it would still be well over $60 million. Another plan was one that would build a new K-6 building behind the middle school and move 7th and 8th grade to the high school. Again, we looked at that and the renovations they came up with to do that were $65 million. Again, eliminating some of the renovations they suggested, we got it down under $60 million, but it was still quite expensive. So where we've kind of ended up is with a plan to do some renovations to our elementary, and then do some renovations and an addition to our high school, and that would allow us to house our K through 5 students in the elementary and our 6 through 12 students in the high school, which would be known as our middle/high school. So here's just a rough drawing. Again, these are very preliminary ideas, so please don't put much weight into what's actually drawn here. In this one, they showed expanding the cafeteria to hold more students in the elementary. The cafeteria has always been a little small, and create a new kitchen. The kitchen has also always been small. One thing, in addition, we believe they've only got 2 5th grade classrooms. We would need a 3rd 5th grade classroom, which would mean either using the art room as a classroom, in which our art teacher would have to be on a cart and travel room to room. What we would prefer to do is build an additional 5th grade room, but that's not on this drawing. We also then looked at the renovations to the high school, and I've got a couple of drawings. This shows from above one idea, which would be to connect the field house to the high school and add on an addition to house some of our 6th through 8th grade classrooms, with a hallway connecting that addition to the field house, expanding the lobby on the field house. So that's kind of an overhead view. It would involve putting some new parking in the front of the building. So we've talked about that quite a bit. Here's another idea that just adds, this shows in addition to our high school, that shows the classrooms that were added, but it does not show it being connected to the field house. And so we're still working on this. We're still looking at different ideas. So these are very preliminary, but I think the idea in general would be that if we combine them, we want to consider, first of all, how can we serve all of our students safely by keeping our youngest students away from the older students. So we're looking at a way that would divide the building in half, in which the high school students would not be interacting with the middle school students, except for in a few potentially shared spaces and that would be coordinated and planned, and there would be a lot of supervision. And I think, while I don't have a slide of that right now, we haven't gotten a drawing back on what our most recent ideas were, but I think we've come up with a pretty good plan for doing that, that I will definitely be sharing with the steering committee at our next meeting, and looking at sharing with the community as well. This was just an idea. Now, they did give us some dollar amounts, and they prioritized some of the amounts for doing some of these renovations, and these are the dollar amounts they came up with. I think our committee, after looking at these things, pretty much all of the items that were under priority 3 we would not do. Those all seem to be wants more than they were needs. Some of the priority 2 items we would move up and do. So we're developing a list of items that we actually believe are needs, things that we really need to do as a district, and we're trying to do them in a way that keeps our students safe and provides better facilities for all of our students, both in the elementary and in the what would be a combined middle high school, and does it as economically as possible. If you haven't watched previous podcasts, I'm just going to quickly say that you might want to go back and look at those, or listen to those, where I talk about our population being in decline. The number of students we have has gone down and is projected to go down further based on the population decline in the area. Again, it's not an issue of housing. Our housing is all filled, and it's not really an issue of school of choice. We actually bring in more students to our district than we lose. Currently, over 200 of our students are here and are residents of other school districts, while somewhere around 140 to 150 are residents that attend elsewhere. So we have a positive net out of school of choice for our district. It's just an issue of declining enrollment, and so we want to make sure that our schools are the right size, and also that we have quality facilities for all of our students. And reducing the number of our buildings will help us to control our ongoing annual expenses as well. So doing this construction will help ease some of our budget burden by constraining our expenses on operations every day. The last slide I want to show you here is this one, and this is the homepage of our website, www.unioncityschools.org. If you have questions about what we're doing with our discussions of our facilities and how we are trying to improve them, I would suggest you take a look at our website. Go to About and choose Facility Steering Committee, and you will find that there's a folder for each of the meetings the steering committee has held, and within that folder are all the handouts that have been given to the steering committee, so you can have all the information that they were given and the presentations they were given. Take a look at all of those things. So I would ask you to take a look at those things first. They should answer a number of your questions, and then I will close the podcast today by mentioning again the community forum we're having this Thursday. That will be Thursday, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. in the High School Media Center. I will be giving kind of an overview presentation. I will keep it as brief as I can, but I want to include a lot of information about it to anyone that's there about the current status of our facilities, why we feel like we need to address them and try to make improvements right now. and talk about the process the steering committee has gone through and where we are headed in our recommendations. Again, it hasn't been finalized. The steering committee will be meeting week after next, or week after this week. I believe their next meeting will be on March 4th. It'll either be March 4th or 6th. I've got to look at and finalize those dates. But it'll be next week. And we're going to be doing a survey which should go out tomorrow. So between the survey and this community forum, we hope to allow people to provide us with some input, and then the steering committee can hopefully finalize the recommendation next week that will go to the school board. And then there will be a couple of school board meetings, one workshop and then a meeting to review the recommendations, and the board, I'm sure, will make discussions and probably have changes they may want to make to the plan that's presented to them. And both of the board meetings are open to the public. Those are on March 10th and March 17th. And we invite the public, anyone in the community, especially taxpayers, to come to those meetings and share their opinions with the board. The board wants to make a wise decision, and they look to the community to give them feedback and assistance in doing that. And so those are the events that are taking place as we lead up to a time where we're going to finalize what our plan will be going forward. So I thank you for your time, and I will end this podcast simply by saying, go Chargers.